Last thing I want to cover is something, part where I sort of disagree with the textbook, but also something that students have struggled with in past semesters. So when we think about research designs, which was covered in the textbook, we can break down quantitative research into experimental and non-experimental research. Experimental research we're going to cover in a later week and sort of return to this chapter and also do an additional reading. But in the textbook, in terms of non-experimental research, they talk about a number of different designs, and they specifically make this distinction between correlational and survey research. And I disagree with the textbook here in terms of HDF. Especially since HDF is interdisciplinary, I think we're better off going with a broader use of the term. So for this class, we're going to talk about survey research as sort of a general umbrella term in this class, right? General term for studies that do some sort of survey questionnaire. There's no manipulation by the researcher, and you're giving your respondents some sort of quantitative instrument, and you're looking at statistical correlations between variables. So we're not going to talk about correlational designs as a specific thing. We're going to talk about survey research in general. Okay. The other thing I want to make clear, and this is something that students have struggled with in the past, is just to be clear that we need to use the general term of a research study, research article, or research report as a general term that refers to both quantitative and qualitative research, which is different than an experiment. An experiment is a specific type of research. Not every research study is an experiment. And we're going to talk about this in more detail in week 6, but just to be clear, generally an experiment, we're defining it, it involves some manipulation by the researcher. It's not just asking people questions or observing them in their everyday life. There's something going on, and oftentimes there's at least one control group and an experimental group. And the last thing I want to cover that's come up in a few different chapters, and certainly should come up in your research articles, but I just want to highlight this, which is the use of theory in research. So I would imagine that you have learned about a lot of theories in other HDF classes that you've taken, right? You probably hear theory, and you probably have certain theories that come to mind, right? Maybe you think about ecological systems theory, right? Bronfenbrenner. Maybe you think of something else that's specific to your area of interest. Which theory is not the focus of this class, but theory plays a very important role in research, right? So theory is a little bit hard to define, but I think we can define it as a way to explain the world, or sort of more formally, a set of interrelated statements intended to explain some aspect of human behavior. Like I said, I'm sure you can think of theories you've learned in other courses. So what's the role of theory in research? Okay. Theory plays a really important role. Often it's research, we're doing it in particular to test theories. We have this theory of human behavior. Let's go out and collect data to see how well this theory stands up with data. Theory also helps us make sense of research, right? Research by itself doesn't make sense unless you have some sort of theoretical framework. And in terms of research quality, the best research has some sort of theoretical rationale. And it's totally fine for this class. You might have be reading articles where the theory is really clear and other times where it's not. We're not focusing on that, but I am saying that highest quality of research has that theoretical rationale. And just as a review, after having watched this video, but also having read the textbook, you should be able to achieve these objectives.